Hi, my name is Kirsten Keller, and this is my reflection on the book One Classroom, Many Learners by Julie Cappola and Elizabeth V. Primas. The authors had a goal in this book was to really just provide information to various pre-service and in-service teachers what they have available for them for their ELL population. Their title being One Classroom, Many Learners refers to the fact that ELLs cannot just be taught all the same as anyone else, neither can any student. They all have different strategies that work for them, and they each need taught in a different way. The kids aren't carbon copies of each other, and so it's really important that we're focusing on a lot of their background information, language information, and cultural experiences, which ELLs usually have more of than students who speak English as a first and only language. This book is divided into many sections to help a reader get through the book a little bit easier. The first section really deals with the ELL population in elementary school. The second chapter deals with the ELL population in secondary, as in the middle school and the high school. And the third section talks about a lot of the professional development that can be given to pre-service and in-service teachers, as in teachers who are learning to teach and teachers who are currently teaching, even teachers who have been teaching. There's a lot of variety of that professional development offered for a wide range of teachers. The English language learners population continues to grow. They are steadily increasing. They show up all around the nation, not even just in certain parts that some people believe. Because of this, there are a lot of different languages in the classroom. One of my favorite chapters in this book talked about 3 children and their experiences with language and how they developed at different rates. They go through the same processes and the same language structures, the same stages as all other students, but they might even need a little bit more time. Some of them might even not need as much time, as was proven by one of the students observed in this chapter. I also was able to take a lot of professional development throughout this year in a training called Letters, and it talked a lot about the brain and how it's processing during reading. And in so, I saw a lot of correlations between that chapter and looking at their development for their reading and their writing skills that really just aligned with what I was learning in my modules for letters. Another one of my favorite chapters was chapter 9, and this was in the section that really focused on the professional development for the pre-service and then service teachers. I had my first parent-teacher conferences this year with my students and their parents, and of my 22 conferences that I had, 7 of my students are English language learners, and 4 of my conferences need an interpreter for the parents. So, given the guidelines that all of our conferences are 20 minutes and we have to have them usually sign some sort of paperwork and do all these other things during the conferences, I felt really tied down by the time restraints, especially since whatever I said also had to be translated. I felt like I really only had 10 minutes. The authors talk about how that can be really detrimental in terms of building a relationship with parents, which is really important in that ELL population. Um, Especially when they come from different cultures. The parents need to know the expectations of the students and that they're being taken care of and what they need to do to help, and maybe that will open up doors if I ever need to ask them what kind of things they do at home, that I can help bridge those connections for them at school. Another part of this book talked about using multicultural texts in the classroom. In this course so far, we have learned a lot about those multicultural texts and how it is actually more than just picking characters that have differences and picking a book that has students of different cultures. Not all students can relate to that, even if that is their culture, because of the different experiences they have had. So, in learning that, I was almost a little bit disappointed with some of the information that was provided about the multicultural texts. It didn't really talk about some of those important aspects that a book needs to have, like having a character that can be going through a similar journey to what they might have been through in their previous history, or celebrating a certain culture that maybe they did. It really just talked about looking at a main character that they could relate to, which is one of those important aspects, but there is a lot more into finding those books that children can really relate to. One of my students has been having a really hard time relating to books and really just reading overall. And we have found a book in our school library with the help of our awesome librarian, and we have found a book that really relates to how his life was when he was in Puerto Rico before he came here. It's about a farmer who lives in Puerto Rico. It's actually the son of a farmer, and he has to go and work, but then has to learn how to have fun at the same time. And that was something that my boy had experienced in just the short time that he was there. So he's really interested in it, and it has some vocabulary that he is familiar with, and those experiences, the characters he can relate to. A lot of things that really make that book a little bit more relatable to him in general, rather than just finding a Puerto Rican character in a Cinderella story, which is something he hasn't experienced.